It's like trying to win a car race.
Should be a good one.
And as you're driving, saying, hey, make it run better.
You could have a posse of waifus.
Starting off kind of strangely.
Slaying the land.
Welcome to the show.
This is insanity.
Taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week.
This info is pretty shocking.
Somebody's got to give an answer to this.
This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for February 27th, 2021. Your source for news, leaks, and analysis of games of the gaming industry. Coming at you live on YouTube and Twitch and archived almost anywhere you can find podcasts. This is Ash here with you, as always, along with Subsidian and Moontag. Good morning, folks. How you doing?
Hello, good morning.
Good.
Yes, at the ready with the coffee and everything.
I already chugged mine. I had a huge cup and then didn't have time to get another one before I sat down here. So if you don't hear from me about halfway through the podcast, don't panic. I just fell asleep is all.
In a sea of coffee.
They tell me I drink too much coffee. I highly doubt that. The fact that I get the shakes if I, haven't had any by noon, it's not a big deal, right?
Oh no!
Welcome everybody. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, at least you don't drink it like scalding hot out of the thing as soon as it comes off the thing and just like down the whole thing in one go. I've seen people do that. Like I know, I've seen people who like they look like zombies until they have their first cup, and then once they have their first cup, then they're like awake and like conscious. So
yeah.
Great.
I like how
I think once you hit that point, it's time to start to maybe
I like how you use the word thing in that one sentence for three different things, and yet I knew what you were talking about. It's like you drank the whole thing as soon as it comes off the thing until the thing in the thing, and then the thing happens, and you're like, yeah, okay, I know what you're saying. Context is key, everybody. Context is key. All right. Moon, you want to do the like button smashy smash thing?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I wrote a limerick.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I'll read part of it. So it's like, be sure to pay tribute to the algorithm gods and show your appreciation to increase our odds by smashing that like button and subscribe to hear something.
And the last line refers to our shorts.
Yes.
Which doesn't apply here. But if you've been following on the main channel, we have been trying out this new YouTube Shorts system. And it's going fairly well. The videos, it takes a few hours, but then they start taking off and people, they start getting fed to you on the Shorts shelf. If you like little bite-sized bits of gaming news, we have started this series called Game News Shorts with a little cartoon shorts avatar character created by Moontag, of course. Let us know what you think of those. And if you'd like to see more, we're intending to do quite a bit more. And they've been getting lots of likes. So we're assuming everybody likes that, those little bite-sized bits of news.
Yes, because YouTube is a totally fair system that has no loopholes or hacks at all.
Yeah.
Or exploits at all.
Whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Exactly. All right. The big story today, Dragon Age 4, no longer going to be a live service multiplayer nightmare disaster. Well, okay, it might be a nightmare disaster. We don't know yet. But EA has pivoted. Did they actually learn something from the failure of Anthem, from the failure of Mass Effect Andromeda, and perhaps the success of games like Jedi Fallen Order? Like, single-player gaming is not dead. Live service gaming is not the future of all things gaming forever and always. Looks like they actually might have. This might be really good news for fans of Dragon Age 4. We're also going to talk Outriders today and a couple of other interesting news tidbits.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. Islington Girl says the failure of Battlefront. And I got to read this one from Notional here. There once was a dev from Poland who released a game too early and okay, I'll allow it. That's like barely a rhyme notional, but okay. Now has made everyone salty because the game was way too faulty. Okay, it's not a limerick, but it's a rhyme. Well, thank you
It's
for
almost
that.
there. Good job. Good job.
Time Bean says, I think they're just shuffling people around. That could be. We'll just let's jump into this story.
Yeah. So, I mean,
we had
not to brag.
You never.
Not to brag, because you know I wouldn't, and you know that whenever I have amazing info that is always spot on, almost always spot on, I try and bring it to you guys as best as I could. And I said a couple days before this announcement went live that I got off the phone, and they're starting to move people around.
Mm-hmm.
They were shifting the team. They were letting them know that they were going to be, moving off of that project. And just based off the fact that they weren't calling anybody else, they were giving these guys no info on to what they were doing or where they were going. Heard from multiple sources outside of the team that was working on this that they were getting moved and they were getting repositioned, and that they needed certain positions opened up on certain teams to take some of these people in that were working on this Anthem team. And as soon as I heard that, I knew it. I knew for a while, like gut wise, right? Not like facts and logic wise,
For sure.
But yeah, I knew lore wise that this was it. Like from just it's like it doesn't make sense for them to try and reboot it. It had such a negative stigma, such a negative reception. This story would have to be completely redone. Everything would have to be completely redone. And I just didn't think that this team, this very small, tiny team, that every time they put in a leader, the leader would quit and walk away because they knew. And that was the other big thing too. It's like every time they put somebody in charge of this project and gave them the name, they would move to a different studio, oftentimes taking even less than what they were making beforehand. And that is because everybody knew that this was a dead project. Everybody knew. And I feel that that EA was stringing people along, trying to milk as much extra cash out of this as they could possibly get. And I think they were basically just, let these guys continue to work on it after they knew that they were going to cancel it, basically. For quite a while, they knew that this was coming. Like the head execs at EA, they knew that they were never going to launch this product, but they toyed with the community and they toyed with some of these devs who just really wanted to make it work. And yeah, turns out not a good idea.
Yes. So we found out pretty much immediately after the midweek podcast this week that the Anthem Next project had been canceled. And then a few days later, a couple days ago now, Jason Schreier came out with this report on Bloomberg about how Electronic Arts has removed the multiplayer mode from Dragon Age in a big pivot, as he puts here in the headline. And there's a few other interesting tidbits in this article too. Apparently, the BioWare team working on this had been pushing for this for some time. They wanted to remove the multiplayer requirement from this. They wanted to make it a single-player, story-driven game, and EA has finally allowed them to do so. Now, I wonder what this is going to mean as far as delays in development, that kind of a thing. But also, but this has happened. He says here in recent months. So it's not like this happened yesterday or this week. It's been happening for a while, and these people familiar with the matter who asked not to be named because they're not authorized to speak to the press. I mean, generally, again, I hate using unnamed sources, but I mean, I guess we do that.
You have to a lot.
You have to, otherwise people's
and
jobs are in.
That's one of the things that there was a bunch of comments on my report. Look, I got off the phone, and they're like, the fact that you wouldn't name these sources clearly means that you just made it up.
Yes.
It's like,
we want that person to get fired, clearly.
Yeah. I want that person to get fired. We could even get sued. There's a lot of things that would happen. Look, it's, when we say we get off the phone, we don't list names. We don't list that those kind of details because it opens it up. Plus, it's like in this industry, you do have to take everything with a grain of salt, and we've been wrong before. I was told that, don't worry, there's still a third person camera in Cyberpunk 2077. And I was assured that right up to the point where they said, "Yeah, we're going single player or FPS for the main game in all aspects except for driving." And I talk to my contact, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And contact says, "There's still third person camera in the game. It's for your, it's for the driving."
So
and
it was technically correct, but not what we thought it meant. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, so things like that tend to happen. And then, of course, in other cases with other developers who shall not be named, they discover that you have some inside knowledge as to what's going on. So they send some goons to your house, and then to your parents' house, and then to your girlfriend's, house, and then to her parents' house, and then to her parents' business. And they just start really putting the pressure on, saying that maybe they're just going to hang around and scare off all your business all day long because, how dare you report on video game rumors and news? How dare you do that when the corporation doesn't want you to do that? You dirty, filthy scrub. How dare you? Don't you know who we are? So, people like that is the other reason why you have to be careful. There's a lot of developers who could get angry about some news that leaks out. Huge news that we'll talk about with the whole Pokemon thing. Well, not to extent, not very much, but that was leaked out like hours ahead of the event yesterday, and really all it did was just made every Pokemon fan tune in to that showcase yesterday, and made their jaws hit the floor. So yeah, that's a good thing. It's not necessarily maybe a good thing that it leaked, but it definitely made more people get on and watch the announcement that I think they honestly wouldn't have had as many people. And so leaks are one of those things that some companies hate it, some companies like it, some companies want you to, they give you the leaks knowing full well that you're gonna run with it.
Yeah.
But they're doing so in an intelligent way that's designed to sell the product. It's designed to
I
make
wasn't
you
supposed to let that info get out. Man, I hope that it doesn't become the topic of 100 YouTube videos with millions of viewers. That would be terrible. Yes.
Right. And sometimes they put out false information, just like I'm reminded again of South Park, where Bush, this is an old one, where the Hardy Boys, I think it was, they're trying to run around trying to find clues as to who did that,
Who done it?
Yeah, who done it, and Bush and his team shows up and they're like, "Oh dear, I guess we just gonna drop this evidence here that suggests that we were responsible." And Kyle and Stan figure it out, right? That it's not them who actually did it. They just want you to think that they're capable of doing it. Because it's all about the fear and the control. All
right. We got to get back on the main topic here, though. So there were two things that, according to these people who spoke to Schreier, there were two things that really changed EA's mind on this. One was Anthem, of course, which was an utter complete failure, and then the other one was Jedi Fallen Order, and I had no idea. I knew Fallen Order was a success. I had no idea that it hit 10 million players in 4 months. It's insane. And it was quite a good game. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And what they're realizing now is that I mean, for a lot of people, sure, there's the whales out there who will spend literally $25,000 on your stupid effing live service / mobile game. Sure, they know that it's there. They know that it's there. But really and honestly, what you are actually looking at, what you're actually looking for, is the ability to get more reliable income out of more people. And I think this is where EA has realized that if they get in if they had pumped out 4 more Mass Effect games, that in the last it's like 10 years, right?
Yes.
If they had pumped out 4 more Mass Effect games, just if they had averaged 10 million players on each one with buying DLC and other stuff like that, not to mention merch, not to mention all of the other bonuses that come with this, not to mention that maybe this whole movie deal thing would have happened a whole lot faster, which we'll talk about again in a minute. Really, the chances of them being able to take all that stuff and have made more than what Anthem made them by leaps and bounds, and even what they thought Anthem was going to make them. I mean, it's quite clear that they lost $1 billion IP to fund this stupid concept of a live service, looter shooter that there's only usually room enough for one active in the community at a time. And at the time, them replacing the Destiny was not going to happen. And realistically, their safer, more logical bet would have been doubling down on Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and having pumped out an additional 4 to 5 of those titles in the last 8 years. And if they had just done that, they would be miles ahead of where they were. If they had just focused on single player, by then maybe multiplayer would have evolved out into something better. But no, instead they chase this stupid concept. It disgusts me. And it disgusts me more because Outriders is out. The demo is out right now. And I'm playing that game, and I really feel that game, even for the story, there's a lot of story elements that are kind of similar. That's what I think they should have gone for. I think that's what they should have aimed for. But yeah.
All right, yeah. Instead, CEO Andrew Wilson called Games as a Service foundational to their future in a 2019 interview. Unbelievable.
Guy's an idiot. The guy is real idiot. And I try not to throw that name around too much, but just the absolute stupidity of somebody who doesn't even listen to their own analysts saying something that just everybody hates, after ignoring the fact that they were voted the worst company in the world twice. At some point, you'd think the guy would develop any microscopic ability to analyze the situation. Anything. But no, he's like I said, I can't believe how stupid some people in positions of power are. It really boggles my mind how absolutely idiotic some of these people are. It blows my mind how stupid, really.
Mm-hmm. There's a comment from the Islington girl. It's a bad sign when you have to think really hard about the last original IP you even saw. Gaming still has some, and that's about it.
Yeah. It is something you do have to take a moment to think hard about. I know I've played some recently, but none. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. And yes, original IPs do seem few and far between. Now, Outriders seems pretty good. We're going to talk more about that in a while. But Anthem, of course, was an original IP, but that was a disaster. it's
Yeah.
it's just kind of mind-boggling how I feel like these companies, these people in power up at the top, it's about the money to them more so than about the art of making a game, making a good game. And yet they don't seem to be able to look down the road and realize if they keep screwing over the people that buy their games, then they will eventually that money income will dry up. Like, do they not think about this? How, you've got a majority of the fan base telling you, no, we hate this, stop doing it. And they're like, okay, I have an idea. Let's do that thing they're telling us that they hate. Let's just do that.
It's like telling your mom that you really don't want that itchy sweater for Christmas, but because you mention it so much, they're like, oh, they must really want it because they're talking about it so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this problem with my dad, or I had this problem with my dad. He hates horseradish. And for some reason, I associated horseradish and my dad, because most other men that I knew in his age bracket and location of where he grew up love horseradish. So like I kept on associating with him. And I think it was the second time I bought him some like specialty horseradish for a Christmas present. That was the time that he was like, I really don't like this stuff. I don't know why you keep buying me this. I really hate horseradish. That I finally got it. So yeah, just maybe like,
yeah, because it's like
association. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we could be looking at a case where like just there's somebody in the company who's been hearing so much hype about this game mechanics and this thing that seems to be really, really popular because everybody in their circle's talking about it. So clearly it must be the moneymaker. And just like not doing your proper research really to be like, oh, I'm just hearing a lot because I listen to a lot of I don't even know what to call them.
Analysts?
Looty shooty people?
I think part of the problem is that this does work in the sports games arena, which EA kind of dominates.
Like instant gratification, right?
Their sports games are highly predatory and highly they utilize these. They're complete games as a service, utilizing these mechanics, but people keep buying them and pumping money into them. And I don't know if that's because, if you are someone who loves sports games, that's your only option right now, is to go with EA's system because they dominate the market there. Or if, I don't know what the reason is for that, but it does work there. And so it looked like they were going to try to bring it over to all of their other arenas of gaming where it just doesn't fly. People who like RPGs, story-based games, that's not going to fly with them. You can't monetize it the same way and get the same results.
Yeah, it's like that whole different strokes for different folks, right? Like, I'm not into sports games, but I'm into like some looty shooty games, but like for a certain amount of time, and then like I really love my RPG stories. And my different writing, right? So it's like, it's finding that balance, because like just because one formula works for a group of people doesn't mean it works for the bigger group of people or whatever, right?
Like I personally can't wait until we see a I don't know if it'll be a game mod. I don't know if it'll come this time around. Maybe it might take some time. It's something that I'm very interested in experiencing. There's a couple other projects that I really am really interested in when it comes to D&D and in what you could do in Baldur's Gate. It's like I'm actually interested in a concept where you start in you play the RPG led by a game master, and you can just keep on doing it and just gradually like ramp up your gear. It's like I like your gear and your level. Like I like that. That's a cool concept, and for that kind of like that looter type concept being there, or like being part of it. That's kind of a cool concept. I like that. I like that idea. But my goodness, it's like it's a system that isn't known to work well, and the fact that EA just like tried to jump on it so late into its cycle, and then they tried to claim it again so late into its cycle. It was like the MOBA that they did. They canceled a MOBA a few years ago after like well after the MOBA had hit its peak, and it was definitely on the backslide. They announced it, and it's like guys, we're making a MOBA. It's like everybody looks at them like, what, you mean that genre that was popular like 8 years ago? Like, you guys are just now making something for it? And it wasn't until like I think it was a third or fourth like play test that they realized that there was less than 100 people like logging in to play it, and they're like, "Oh, guys, this isn't gonna make us any money. Plus, Blizzard's working on it, and I mean, their version's gonna be the best one ever." You know, they already canceled that basically. Like, it's not canceled or shut down, but it's like it's not receiving any more updates or like actual like big content. It's not getting any more of that. It's basically like that's another game that I expect they're going to shut down in the next like year or two, just because again, the stupidity of people in these positions of power who, after looking at a product or an IP or a concept or a genre exists for 5+ years, they go, yeah, let's maybe try and get in on that, instead of looking to the future and looking at like what indie developers are making and trying to like find something that is, you know, just starts to explode, and then utilizing that, like, or just trying to like grow their own stuff. Like, and I think this is what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft knows that by investing in as many studios as they have, with as many like concepts and ideas they have, that eventually somebody's going to create the next Minecraft or the next like big thing or the next new genre or IP that just nobody saw coming, right? And they know that by investing in enough people, sure, they'll have a lot of failures, but this is the same thing that you do in like investment, like risk investment. In risk investment, you're investing in 50 companies, and you're expecting 49 of them on average to fail. But that one company that manages to succeed, you're going to make the money back that you invested plus a lot more than you would invested in the 49 other companies. And that's how it works. Well, I mean, usually it's more than 49. It's usually like 2 out of 20. Like 18 out of like, so 1 out of 10 companies succeeds when it, like on a startup. Same, like restaurants have a similar like brutal number. It's like,
right, yeah,
like 80% of, or not 80, it's like 50 something percent don't live past the first year. So it's like, it's a brutal industry. It's a brutal industry. And the same thing applies to this, but instead of casting a wide net, you know, EA has been trying to like shoot at a moving target after they've been given like the info on the moving target, like that's 2 years old.
Well,
so
they're
like
this gigantic bloated company, and they don't move very
Yeah.
fast. So
Yeah.
trying to hit that moving target
exactly.
is
Exactly.
a little bit difficult. All right. Well, I am suddenly interested in Dragon Age 4, knowing that it's going to be it's not going to be a live service.
So let me give you a quick history on the game. So the game, they had an original idea for it, and they were going with this direction, and they were doing quite well on it. They were getting really quite deep into creating that game, and then EA came in and said, "Hey guys, you have to use Frostbite, and also we want to make this all of the game live service focused. And if you could have like a looter shooter type system on it, that would be great too."
Frostbite is the engine, if anyone's not aware. Frostbite is this engine that EA decided to impose on all of its studios, even though it is not the best engine for certain types of games.
It's not the best engine. It's only the best engine for one type of game, and that is a looter shooter. And even then, it's kind of garbage. I mean, really, like, it's only really good at being a shooter. Like, you have to remove everything else from that category, like, you know, the loot, the you know, the player character development, you know, the skills, you remove all that, and then you're left with a good engine that's good at shooting things, like, which is pathetic, because I mean, pretty much every engine is good at that, unless you're using like, you know, RPG Maker or Game Maker. It's like it's absolutely moronic. You know, why they thought that this crappy engine would be capable of doing anything when it wasn't even good at designing in workshop, you know, widgets and tools. It's like, why you'd think that this is a good thing is completely beyond me. Again, these people are idiots, absolute idiots when it comes to leading this game. And either they're surrounded by yes men or they don't listen to any advice that they're given. Sir, this game, this engine really won't work well at all. It really is not going to work good at all, period. There's just too much of a problem. There's too much issues. There's too many programming difficulties. Look, it's just not going to work. You can't do this. They don't have anybody around them telling them that or listening to that advice, because they're like, oh no, guys, look, it'll totally work. We will make it work if we have to. It's like, you arrogant SOBs. You honestly think that this piece of garbage can work? Like, it could work, and it maybe will work after another like 3-4 years of constant developer like pouring resources into it. But what do you have then? I mean, your shell, you know, the company's kind of a shell of its former self, essentially. Like, it really is. Like, everybody who's worked on this has been sacrificing their careers, their forward momentum, everything on just trying to make this stupid piece of garbage work. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I've got up on the screen right now. This is a report from back in 2019, April of 2019. We reported on this as well, where this talks about how the original Dragon Age 4 project under codename Joplin was then rebooted under a new codename Morrison, where this is where they brought in the Frostbite engine that I was just talking about, and these live service focused things. And so now it sounds like there's been a bit of a not a complete reboot, but a course correction. They've taken out the live service component, but they were reporting on this back. And I remember we talked, and this is where any interest I had in Dragon Age 4 just went out the window. It's like, this sounds terrible, especially if it's going to be another Anthem debacle.
Yeah, Joplin,
Mass Effect Andromeda debacle. I was like, this is just, forget it. I'm done. I'm done with BioWare. This though, like, this sounds. I mean, I'm interested again. BioWare has a lot of trust to rebuild, and they've got a lot of work ahead of them. And I mean, but if they can pull off something amazing with Dragon Age 4, they might just have a future.
So Joplin was probably one of the best directions for gaming, for RPGs, period. This project was akin to Baldur's Gate 3, in my humble opinion. It was one of the best conceptual ideas for an RPG, utilizing a new kind of, like, not utilizing a turn-based system, but just a fast action RPG, squad-based movement, but not just, you know, an action RPG, but hosting content that took thought and preparation and planning, and you could move in and complete a quest with a team of barbarians or a team of courtesans. How do you say that properly? I think that's the way. Anyways, the options that you had were just so much more, and was just so much better, and you just had so many more choices that you could make. You had so many more ideas and things that could just, you know, really change the game and make it just better overall. Like, all of that stuff was in Joplin, and all of it was reportedly scrapped. Now, they didn't scrap it. I think they just, you know, put it on hold, and they started working on this Morrison idea that took all those great role play mechanics, threw them out the door, and replaced them with live service, you know, loot showers, and the ability to, like, play with other people and drop in and out and do the same repetitive mission over and 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 over again. I mean, I know you've killed the captain 15,000 times before, but go in and kill that captain again in the exact same bloody stupid mission. Yeah. Joplin was reportedly using tech that would make it so that you never played the same mission twice in the same location twice. You might have similar locations. You might have a city set or a tile set of an entire city, but you would constantly be playing new things with new objectives that would try and change things up constantly, that they would try to make you feel, like you were connected to something, that it was getting better and it was getting funner. It's like you thought that, but no. You thought that, but no. No, that's not what you're getting, you stupid, you consumer. You don't know what you want. What you clearly want is you want something that's, more like Destiny. That's what you want. Play Destiny, MFer, because that's what you're going to get. And
yes,
so gross, so dumb, so stupid, so selfish. And yeah, so that was Joplin. Now this is Morrison, but as we're starting to see and as we're starting to hear, there's more of Joplin coming back than the original concept of what Morrison was supposed to be. All so right. If that's the case, then we're going to get a good Dragon Age 4 project. But you got to remember now, this project has been developed one direction, then another direction, and now it's going back in another direction, maybe hopefully back to the original direction, and it's a lot of lost time on it. And with this news, we're not getting this game this year. We're not getting this. Probably we're not going to get this next year either. In all honesty, I think that we're looking at 2023. So, yikes.
A ways off. And as people are pointing out in the live chat, the original Mass Effect people are gone. You pointed this out as well in the shorts video. That they've lost so much staff, they've lost so much talent. It's going to be difficult for them to pull this off. As Time Bean says here, grain of salt. It will likely not be amazing. I imagine it will be serviceable. Honestly, I would take a game that's decent from BioWare. I would take a game that's decent at this point. If it's all right, then that's a win for them.
So Time Bean brings up a very interesting point in that how many of the writers now that are there actually know about the original direction of the lore, that know about that kind of stuff. And that's true. I know that there was a lot of deep-seated, original idea content coming from the original writers team that had a whole bunch of ideas and concepts that were originally very were going to be very interesting, to say the least, and they're not there to flesh that out. They don't even have really I've talked about the Fallout Bible a lot, where you take this concept, you write out your universe, you write out the rules of the universe, you write out all of these major events that happen all over the world, and then you fit those things together and you make a story that is coherent. And I don't know if they have that anymore. And that's the thing that really worries me. And yes, the kitty is very worried about this too. So, yeah.
All right. I suppose that's really all there is to say. I'm just going to see if I can kill this goblin here. Oh, no, it's not one of those interactive ads. Never mind. Okay.
That's too bad. Yeah. That's too bad.
All right. Well, let's talk about Outriders then. Now, you were saying to me this morning, Saib, that Outriders is what Anthem was supposed to be. Now, this game, the demo is out now. If you want to try it, you can get the demo for free. And I would recommend, if you're at all interested in this game, absolutely get the demo and try it out and see if you like it. I like that they're doing this. I like that they're going back to this demo model in, at least some studios are. This is fantastic. So you're not just going based on hype and CG trailers and all of that. You can actually sit down and try the game and decide if you want to buy it. What a concept! Like, why didn't they think of this 30 years ago? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, they did that, didn't they? They used to do that. That was what they used to do all the time. In fact, I mean, what they should really do is they should put demos on some kind of a physical media, and well, they don't need to do that anymore, but they used to do that. They'd send you demo discs with magazines, and it was Anyway, what a concept. So, Outriders.
Yeah.
Spent a couple hours playing this last night. Quite enjoyed it. What I was able to experience of it. I'm not too far through it, only a couple hours. Saib, how much have you put into it?
So I'm level 7 on one character. I started another one, messed around with some other stuff, and really I gotta say that I'm liking my first build that I kind of have. The general concept's pretty decent. This isn't a masterpiece as far as like lore and story goes. I think it's pretty good. I've heard there's so many elements of like other stuff. Like I feel that I'm playing like a whole bunch of like recent Netflix shows all at the same time, like 100, Lost in Space, a couple of these other games where it's like humanity's last hope, and and this kind of stuff. And frankly, I'm a little exhausted from that IP, from that genre concept of like your humanity's last hope, and because I get into some weeds of like having issues with like it's like oh, there's only like 50,000 humans left, and it's like, well, I just killed 25,000 of them, so I'm pretty sure that we're probably not going to have
Thanos. It's Thanos Simulator 2021.
Yeah, so that and some other technical gripes that I had when first booting up the game, which are totally understandable in the demo. It's the demo, that's why they're there. It's why they're not releasing the game now versus when they're actually releasing the game in April. So overall, very minor gripes. And again, I've pointed out before, I think on other games, when my only complaint really is like the general core concept of the story. And like picking apart like minor things, that's a really good sign, because then that means that there's no other like major glaring plot holes or other gigantic problems with the game. So yeah, no, I think the saddest thing about this game is that it makes me feel that this is what Anthem was supposed to be. Anthem was supposed to,
yes.
Yeah. Just you take out the flying, and basically it's a very similar game in its like. Again, even when it comes down to the story of like, it's like this last bastion of humankind, and humans are trying to fight against this world that throws anomalies at them constantly, and just things that science can't explain, and all this kind of cool stuff that that's kind of a cool baseline idea. But these guys have managed to actually pull off a gameplay that is really decently fun and really engaging, and the classes are interesting, and they're not just they actually have a unique feel to them. I felt a lot in Anthem that I was just shooting stuff with the same gun, and I don't feel that way when I'm playing Outriders. So again, another huge bonus for them there. So overall, do I recommend it? I sure do. I think it's pretty good. I think it's decent. I think there's a handful of minor problems that are minor, but overall, I think I think I'll be playing this in 2 years. I kind of doubt it, but I might be playing this in a year. So that has some really good
if they
direction for it.
If they keep updating it with new content. If they go in what's that other game? What's the game I'm thinking of? It'll come to me. Very popular game that's still being played and constantly getting
Destiny.
Destiny is one. That's not the one I was thinking of. But anyway, I mean, if they keep providing new content, this is a game that that I could definitely see some people playing in many years if they keep going with it. I found the story way more captivating and interesting than Anthem.
Oh yeah, no, this story. I mean, despite the fact that it's very light on the story, like there's not a lot here. Like if you take all the cutscenes and all the actual story content and put it together, you're only looking at like under an hour right now. And again, what they're doing is they're setting up the world that you can just constantly replay, and that is so far it's pretty decent, and it's a lot better than the stupid storyline that they had in Anthem. Anthem's characters were paper thin. Their whole the bio of every single character could be combined and put on a single page on font 11. Like that's how pathetically weak Anthem was. This game's got way more than that already, even though it's dealing with this. You're just in the demo, you're dealing with a much smaller team of people. There is this stereotypical dumb British guy that I found really annoying at the beginning. I was like, really, guys like, no, we're going to call things down right now and we're not going to stop it because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that you people do what you have to do. I'm using the wrong accent, but still.
I was going to say, nice British accent. Yeah, I didn't mind this character, though. I honestly didn't mind that character.
Yeah, no. And it's
I didn't find that... yes, it's another post-apocalyptic thing, but I found... I didn't find that it was too cliched in that aspect. I didn't feel like when I hit the point, even though your character is somewhat remarkable in that, you're one of these people that, there's this anomaly thing that it kills most people, but some people it gives special powers to, and then you're one of the people that gets the special powers. I think
I like their explanation on it. So it's like most people die. Some people come out with pink spots, and then a handful of other people come out with superpowers. It's like all right. So pink spots get blown up or get superpowers. That's an interesting thing. I gotta say this because Time Bean's been asking me to say it. So my other minor gripe with the game so far is that the characters all look super chonky, like super like. I don't know if it's
not just the armor.
I'm thinking it might be the armor. It might have something to do with the armor choices, but they are super chonky.
I think a lot of it has to do with the armor. I did play as a female character mostly because I wanted to see, like, can I make one that actually looks somewhat feminine? Because god damn it,
it's a good benchmark for today's games. Is like, can you make a character look feminine and pretty?
It was not easy to make.
Nope.
A female character that looked somewhat feminine. The faces were. It's another one of these games. It's like, we can't allow our characters to look attractive. Except that I got into the game and into the cutscenes, and they actually have some good-looking female characters that were hand designed. But for some reason, anything the character creator spits out, the females are just not attractive. The guys look okay.
I think what you're pointing out that. Which you pointed out earlier to me in conversation, is that I think what they did is so that certain NPC characters had like their bodies custom made.
Yeah.
But I think what they did with the player character is that the player female character is basically the male body just with a handful of morphs on it. So instead of like rebuilding the female body from scratch, they took the male body, and I know other games that have done this, and SWTOR was one of them that did this. They take the male body, so they design the male body to look male, and then they take that into a morpher program, and they just morph a handful of things to make it look female. And what you end up getting is it's not good. There's always something off or slightly wrong about it, because the dimensions, especially around the shoulder, because typically what they're doing is they're making the animations. So they're importing a bunch of the animations in the skeletal rig from the male body over to the female body, and they're setting those up there. This is a very common, very normal thing that happens in game development, and it's also a cheap, stupid thing to do, because what you end up getting is you end up getting a character body that always looks a little off. What you should do is you should rebuild those animations custom to begin with female, or better yet, you get a female and here you get a female motion capture person to do all those animations. Again, another problem that they do is they normally have a guy doing the motion capture, and again, this is a huge problem that they have in mocap, is that they get a singular person who's kind of a scrawny, tall, lanky guy to do a lot of the motion capture. Sometimes he's a bit shorter than the average, so he's not average male height. He's below slightly average male height, and then again they expand that skeleton to fit all of the skeletons in the game, despite the fact that some are tall, some have huge shoulders, that stuff, which ends up stretching the morphs and stretching the skeleton, so that motions and hand motions and the mocap always looks slightly off on certain characters, on certain body morphs, than it does on other characters and other body morphs. And really what I think this needs is it just needs a refinement in the tech that's used to do motion capture and better improvements in that. But again, very minor issue. It's a
minor gripe. It's only more than a slightly minor gripe for me, because it's not. I mean, it's not just this game. It's this just seems to be among in certain large companies,
like I said, it's a very common problem.
It's becoming a common thing. We had that issue with Andromeda. We did a video on it. We're like, can we make an attractive female character in this character creator? Let's see. Moon, I think you had some thoughts, but your connection kept getting eaten because Saib was speaking at the same time. So what are your thoughts on all of this in general, of what you've seen? Have you tried the game for yourself?
I haven't tried the game, but usually when I go in there, I will generally try to create a player that's kind of like me, and I'm definitely barely 5 feet tall. So I will generally go for the smaller stature characters, right? And I didn't really see an option to make a small goblin-y character, which I was just I was slightly disappointed at. But for the most part, I will work with what they have. But just having the option would really be nice. Because too many options can be overwhelming. But just having even just in some games you have slim, average, and heavier even, right? But there didn't seem to be that sort of option in this. But it could be something we could consider.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait for the day that you have that option where you can pick somebody who's on Team Shorty, and they go into a fight, and normally what happens in the cinematic with all the tall characters is they get shot at or whatever, and they take a hit, and they get punched across the room or something like that. But then you play the game, if you're playing with this person who's super short, the big bad throws the punch or whatever, but he misses because your character's so short, and then the character's standing there and goes, Team Shorty, bitch, and then they blast him with a shotgun or something like that. It's the day that they add that option into games based off of what kind of character you're making. Again, where we're seeing this really come from is the RPGs, is not the open world, is the RPGs like Baldur's Gate, where they're actually adding features that are similar to that game. But I don't think we'll see it in stuff like this for quite a while, because it's a very technically difficult.
It's
thing
technically
to
difficult, and I'd be okay with
and no negativity on this. So
Paulie says, let's face it, folks, Moontag just wants a small character so she can punch the enemy NPC in the balls. Well, who doesn't want to do that?
Right? Yeah, it's perfect height. It's a straight punch for me.
But in real life, it is, yeah. That kind of a system would be really neat, actually, especially if, say, you have you make yourself a tiny 4.5 foot tall character. give that character, a strength debuff, but like a boost to speed and agility or something.
Oh,
Like,
didn't you hear that you can't do that anymore? Giving players different stats based off of, being, orc or halfling or elf, that's completely not allowed anymore because of, current day.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Current day
Discriminatory.
stuff. Yeah. You just because a guy's 7 feet tall and has the brain the size of a walnut doesn't mean that he's naturally stupid or naturally strong. Could be that he's a genius, and could be that he's as dainty as a flower petal on the wind, and that the 3 foot tall giant headed creature, that doesn't mean that they're smart and they're good at magic and stuff like that. It means that they might carry around that 12-foot long broadsword, just whipping that out everywhere because that's totally how that works. So yeah, stupidity of modern day thinking.
Indeed. Indeed. All right.
Right.
I found it funny that it was like, orcs are representative of a certain racial group. It's like nobody sees that except you. So who's the racist here? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not go into that. I just wanted to make that point because that's so. The people who see these things. Yeah. Anyway.
It's the person who hears dog whistles everywhere they go. Do you hear that dog whistle? Do you hear that dog whistle? Oh, I know what that dog whistle means.
I'm starting to think maybe you're a dog. Like if you, maybe you're the dog. If you're the one hearing the dog whistles. Okay.
Like if yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Let's talk. I wanted to go back to the RPG elements though. So how deep do you think the RPG elements are going to go? I find, like I said, the story was intriguing, but I'm not seeing a lot of opportunities for a branching storyline, especially considering the drop in.
No branching storyline. The story will tell a singular,
which is fine,
narrative.
But which is fine. I mean that I really enjoy a lot of games that do that. So where are we seeing the deep RPG elements then? Like how deep do you see them going?
It's not strictly RPG elements. Just there's a lot of customization for your character. Each class has 3 different routes that they can go, and you can intermix that very quickly. So there are shortcut. So it's a little bit like, it's not as deep, but it's a little bit like kind of like a Path of Exile type talent system where you start at one point and you can branch out. You get pretty flexible in the form of like what things you want to pick up where. Right away with the build that I went, I had the ability to like focus on weapon damage, focus on ability damage, focus on hit points and resistances. I got the option for additional life vamp. I got the addition to make it so that I looted more sniper rifles or assault rifles, or machine guns. I had the option to like specialize into either of those fields or to specialize into them both. I had the ability to go up the weapon path, but then to take a shortcut down to the elemental, or what they call I can't remember what they call it, anomaly powers, that kind of thing, to take the shortcut straight down and hop over into that anomaly tree, which is at the bottom of the thing versus the weapons one, which is on the top, and then the character defenses are in the middle. So there's so you can be quite different than most other people that you're playing with, as far as like general strategy for general gameplay. You get 3 abilities that you can use in combat. But those 3 abilities are only 3 of 9 that I think it's 9 or 10, might be 8. I'm not, don't quote me on this. It's between 8 and 10 powers and abilities. Actually, Polly's might know in the chat. I'm pretty sure it's between 8 and 10 though. And you get to test out those abilities too. And they're fairly substantially different than some of the other abilities that the other players have, the other classes have. Yeah, it's 8. It's 8 for sure. So there's 8 abilities, and I took the Technomancer tree, which is kind of like the support class. I really liked it from the get-go. Normally I play kind of like a tanky character who's in your face, but I found that I could do that with this kind of build, just based off of the things that I was picking up and the stuff that I was picking up, and just the way that you could customize your character and tweak things out, and if I wanted to, I could be like just focus on dropping like things that fight for me, or I could like one of the cool things that I really liked was that at first I didn't like the first ability that I got, which was this shrapnel ability, and I chucked that out a couple times. I'm like, this thing does absolutely nothing. Why am I even pressing that? But then I found out that it was an activatable mine. Basically, you could use it as a grenade, but really what it excels at is activating it basically based off of a mine, and I could put it down where I knew that enemies would be coming out in advance, and then I could be fighting with my back to that area. The enemies would rush out, and then they would trigger the mines and blow themselves up. And so like tactics like that, and then a couple other things, I was like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. This makes sense. There's combos and a whole bunch of other things. Again, it really gave me the feel of like, this is kind of like, it's a slightly better Mass Effect multiplayer. I feel like it's got some of the same stuff. It's not as deep because it doesn't have nearly the amount of classes or type of builds yet. But I think, again, that's yet. So I think they're probably working on more stuff down the road. And again, I think that there's a good direction that they could go here. It's definitely something that looks like it has good potential. So yeah,
I agree.
And
this is
you can respec for free. You can't change classes for free, but you can respec for free whenever you want.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. I chose the Pyromancer. That was my class. I normally go, stealth and sneaky, but I was like, I want to do something different this time because I always do that. So, and I'm enjoying it. Setting your enemies on fire, of course. I mean, in real life, a horrible thing, but it's fun in a game. It's fun in a game. One of the interesting things that I really like about this is you don't heal by picking up healing packs. You heal by using your ability to destroy enemies, and that heals you. And I think that makes
the Techomancer also has an actual team-wide heal that they can
That's
use.
cool. And so, but it makes sense lore-wise. It makes a lot of sense in that you're like drawing on the anomaly power to actually heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that I'm not having to run around looking for healing, and that it really healing yourself becomes a strategic part of the combat. So I like that a lot. I do like the cover-based mechanics. My enter cover button didn't always work. That's the one minor technical thing. I was like, I'm trying to enter cover and people are shooting me. I'm like pushing the button. It's like, get behind the thing. Anyway, hopefully they tweak that and, fix it a little bit. Just a minor technical thing that I think could be improved. But yeah, in general, I like the nature of the combat. This is super, it's a very combat focused game. That's sort of the focus of the gameplay. The diversity of characters and like of the character builds you can do is all about, how you can operate and move within combat, the various things you can do. And I can see a ton of potential there for them adding classes, adding abilities, things like that to really give you a ton of variety in how you go about things. And that could make the team gameplay a lot of fun. You can, to mix and match different types of characters to really, to make an effective team that works well together. If you want to go the multiplayer route, that seems like that could be a really fun aspect of this game. I got a lot of Division vibes from it, actually. I'm enjoying it a lot more than the Division. But
I think it's a bit of a mix, except where in the Division your abilities were. I mean, the only time that you used your abilities was to exploit the game and move through walls and that kind of stuff. The regular time, there was no such thing about using abilities other than like making your attack and bullets do more damage. Like that's the thing I hated about the Division 1 and 2, especially 2, is that for a brief time, You could go into a combat encounter and never fire a single bullet from your gun. You could just use your abilities to flatten everybody. And really early on, they nerfed that into the ground. They nerfed the ability to use a shield. They nerfed the ability to use anything other than guns, because guns were what made the game, because it was all about the guns and the guns and the guns had the guns.
What do you do, guys? Like it, yeah.
I and that broke me in when it came to that game, because I wanted to use abilities. I had all these cool abilities. I had this one ability where you target like 10. You get all these buffs and you make it really, really cool. Then you can get to the point where you can target like 10, 15 people at a time. You target 10, 15 people, you send your little flyer out, and he nukes the whole thing, and that was cool. That was fun. And they're like, no! You gotta go in there and you gotta do that with a machine gun and an assault rifle. Actually, not a machine gun. You need to use the assault rifle, but this particular brand, and then the SMG, and this particular brand with these particular stats on it. And that's the way you make the game. And that's the way you clear it, because there's no other way to do that or play our game than to use the guns that we want you to use. And it drove me nuts, because I wanted to use abilities. I didn't want to point and shoot again after playing games that are all about the pointing and the shooting. I want to use abilities. I want to use combos. I want to use turrets. I want to play games that have a meaningful progression in abilities at the same time as having cool weapons. Is that so hard to ask? And Outriders pulls that off marvelously so far.
Yeah, the abilities focus. I really like that. It just changes things up, and I think that's really what this game is going to hinge on, is the number of abilities, the ways you can customize your character in that way, in terms of what you can do. I do enjoy, I certainly did enjoy using the shotgun, and when I found a sniper rifle, I was like, yes. But yeah, having to and not just having an ability, but you need to use your ability. If you take damage, that's how you heal yourself. Like I said, I think that adds so much to the strategy of the game. And so I was sniping people.
I don't know how that particular class works, but there are other. So in my class, there were bonuses that would increase the vamp that my abilities gave me and the vamp that my weapons gave me. So there was already a significant difference in that. And I know that when we're talking like really high end, like bursty content, might be kind of interesting to see where that goes. I'm hoping that one of my hopes is that I hope it doesn't come down to speed runs, because I dislike speed runs. I like to take my time. I like to be able to say, hey, I need to go to the can. Let's just wait here. I like that the ability to not be pressured into doing time runs. I haven't seen it, but I've heard some rumors that there's going to be some time run focused stuff here. It's like I really don't want time run focused stuff. I like, people have a life. They have things that happen. They've got to put down the controller at times, and I'm hoping that doesn't ruin the experience of everybody else just because I got to run to the can. It's like, yeah, I'm hoping that they don't focus on that. That's so far I haven't seen that in the game yet, but we'll see. Like I've got nothing against like time runs in general. It's just like I wish that wouldn't be the only way that they calculate it up, like content and stuff like that. I prefer a game where you don't, like, nobody dies, and you have really cool like finishers and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But again, a lot of minor issues, no major issues at all. And even the minor issues, even when you stack them all up together, it's a mild inconvenience at best. It's not like all of those things together. It's a mild inconvenience at best. It's not. I don't think we're looking at another Anthem here. Of course, the story.
No. I mean,
we need
Anthem,
to.
At this point, after playing Anthem for the amount of time that I've played Outriders, I was already done with it. I was like, this world is boring and empty. I just get no enjoyment out of this. The characters are boring. Like, for in Outriders, I was actually stopping to read the little scraps of lore and journal entries and things that I was picking up, and I was annoyed when I went into my lexicon, or what's it called, my codex, journal, whatever they call it in this one, and I couldn't.
Journal.
I was like, okay, I know there's these two factions. There's the faction that I'm with, and then there's the insurgents, and I was like, I want to find out more information about the insurgents, and I went in there. I was annoyed that I couldn't find it because I wanted to learn more about this world, and eventually it showed up a bit later.
There's also I didn't notice it right away until I think Polly's pointed out. There's also like lore tidbits hidden around the world, and you actually have to like use those, and that's what unlocks your codex. So you actually have to go into areas and into missions, and you have to find the little hidden glowing things, and that fills out your knowledge of the world, which kind of makes sense based off of like what actually happens in the world, and how you actually like wake up, and how you're doing all the stuff, and and that actually makes more sense.
But the world, but the point is, the world was interesting, and I actually wanted to read the stuff. That rarely happens in a game for me.
Yeah.
I'm normally I skip all of if there's books and codex entries and things like that. Normally I skip all of that, and I kind of pick up the lore from the dialogue and etc. But I actually wanted to read things because I found the world interesting. So if you wanted to like Anthem, and if you like games like The Division, definitely check this one out. And even if you're not sure, you know what? Free demo, you can try it out. Definitely, don't judge it within the first 10 minutes. You got to wait till the major inciting incident happens. I won't spoil it, but you'll know it when it happens. You got to wait till after that. That really gives you a flavor for the game. And that's where you can really decide, if you think you might like this game or not. So that's what I would recommend. The demo's free. Go try it out if you at all have any interest. If you like third-person shooters. All right. You are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, and it is great to see the conversation in the live chat. If you want to keep the conversation going, maybe find people to play Outriders and other games with, check out our Discord server. You can find the link in the description below.
We definitely have a group of people that are going to be playing this for a while. We also have a group of people who are still playing Valheim, and we are still throwing around the idea of maybe trying out a kind of like a persistent server type thing. We're kind of messing around with some ideas on that. If you're interested in that game, join us over here because that thing's taken off like crazy. So we might do something.
If the Outriders demo hadn't dropped this week, I was going to be checking out at Valheim. That was going to be my next game I was going to check out, but then I figured I should try this one. But you can try to find people to play any game you can think of. There's a group of folks that gets together every weekend to play Quiplash. It's a fun place. Check it out. We work very hard, and we've got a great team of mods keeping it positive and sort of non-toxic. And we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about lots of ugly stuff except in the off-topic room, but that's only if you want to go there and get into those kinds of conversations. You can, but we keep that out of the general space. So we try to keep it very, very positive and focused on the fun things that we like to do together. So check it out. Link in the description below. All right. What should we talk about next? Okay, yes, we've got just a couple more stories before we wrap up here. So, Sony...
the bragging, let me just do the Pokemon one first here because this kind of broke. It broke yesterday. Kind of took off really between yesterday and today. So Pokemon has announced that they're redoing. Silver and Pearl. Silver Pearl. I'm pretty sure it's Silver Pearl.
Right.
Yeah. So they're redoing that. So that game is getting a remaster. Top-down chibi type character footage was shown off. Looks interesting. It's going to be that's going to be on I believe it's going to be on the Switch. I think they are also talking about it being on some maybe one or two other like phone devices or something like that. Don't quote me on that.
It's Diamond and Pearl. Diamond and Pearl.
Diamond and Pearl. Yeah, sorry, not silver. It's silver gold, I think, but no, diamond pearl.
Yeah, silver and gold
and
is
then,
another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they also announced that they have an open world Pokemon game coming out too. So, oh my gosh, the open world Pokemon game looks fantastic. If you're into that kind of thing. So yeah, that was the big announcements, and they did a really good job with their announcements of it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there was this other story about Sony shutting down Japan studio.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said their Japan studio, this studio is actually called Japan Studio? Is that
What? No.
That's the article I found. Sony is shutting down development at Japan Studio. That's what it says here.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the longest running first-party developer, according to VGC.
Yeah, so this is sorry. I was talking about it when I was giving you the info on it yesterday. It's like Sony is. It's not a huge studio. This isn't their primary studio in Japan. This is just one of several. But this again shows that Sony is starting to rank Japan in its list of priorities. And we knew that this was going to happen long time ago. They moved their headquarters out to America. And honestly, if things keep going the way they're going, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved their headquarters to China at some point in the future, because that's really all they want. They couldn't get into China on the level that they wanted to while staying in Japan. What they wanted to do is they want to head into that market, because it's just a bigger market for them, and they just think that from a strategic money point of view, that if they get in, then they'll be that much bigger. So I really feel that this is yet another sign that Sony does not care about their players, about their gamers, about their users. Not anymore. Not from where they were 5 years ago. Not from where they were 8 years ago. They have no interest in they have no interest in you, the consumer, and the traditional concept of what Sony was. They don't care about that right now. And again, big story from just 5 years ago, and there's a lot of people who think that Sony is the same company they were 5 years ago. They're not even in the slightest. They don't care about you anymore. They don't care about Japan. They don't care about the traditional games that were built up on their platform for decades and decades and decades. They don't give a rip about you, and they don't give a rip about these games, and they don't give a rip about what you about their origin. They want to move to bigger and bigger fish, and right now that doesn't include most of the gamers that have been following along with them for so long. I've tried to say this many times before, and sometimes it came out wrong. Sometimes I did a pretty bad job of it. But Sony doesn't care, and you're going to see this get a lot worse. And I've been trying to warn about it for a while now, and again, this is just another drop in the bucket. This one, pretty substantial one, but this is another drop in the bucket showing that they really don't give a rip about where they came from and what they're doing now. They just really don't care. They want you to, if you're in for the ride when they leave you behind, then sure, they're fine with that. But really, they're really just looking for new stuff and looking for a new way around things. So, unfortunate. And again, not personal to the players. I just wish the players would understand this, that they don't care about what was traditionally Sony. They're moving on, and they're moving into what they think is a bigger pool for fish, a bigger pool of fish. Yeah. So sad to see them moving away, and walking away from this stuff again comes at a really bad time for a lot of people in these jobs. But yeah.
All right. And finally today we have Henry Cavill once again in video game cinematic news, potentially teasing a Mass Effect project that he may be involved with. This is interesting. This is an interesting one. So he tweeted out this photo, apparently, or shared it somehow. Instagram. He posted it on Instagram, and somebody used a program called Focus Magic to sort of try and de-blur all of this blurry text that on these pages that he's looking at, and they were able to make out the words Cerberus, Reaper, Geth, and Talizora, all associated with the Mass Effect franchise. Interesting.
So, yeah, this is pretty cool. Again, I don't know if he's pitching for this, if he's wanting, like, if this was like, clearly this was a staged photo. Clearly this was designed and probably checked over and rechecked, and then it was given the approval to send it out. This is, again, good news if you're looking for this. If you're if you think that this is a cool thing, this is good. I you know, and maybe this is what manages to revamp BioWare. Maybe this is what reestablishes it as a decent company, and maybe even what brings back some people is maybe this project and maybe some other stuff, and maybe BioWare is not as dead as we think. But in all honesty, I don't know about that now. I know that if you were to take the first couple of games and rebuild it into a good show, that it would be very good. But that requires you to actually make a good show out of it. And video game, movie / TV shows have not always done that very well. But there's a mad scramble now with the success of Witcher. There's a mad scramble to engage and get more of this stuff out and running. And so we're looking at a significant push by studios, by big corporations that are saying, yes, this is what we want. We want this money. We want this thing. We want this time. We want this energy. So they're willing to put up for it. And we've got. So that would mean we're getting Mass Effect and we're getting Last of Us probably around the same time in the future. I hope it works. I really do. Especially this project. Last of Us I care less about, but Mass Effect, again, I wish and I hope for the day that IP means something to people again, because right now it's really dead. It's really dead. And I think I mentioned this a few years ago. I knew that Andromeda had killed Mass Effect when I went to work. It wasn't work. I went out to the store and I saw some guys working on the side of the road, and there was a guy wearing an N7 sweater, doing really tough manual dirty work. And I was like, dude, you're wrecking your N7 hoodie. And he's like, it's dead to me now. Andromeda killed it. And I'm like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. So I knew it was dead then, and I don't see it coming back until they actually do a decent job. If they come out with this remaster and they can launch that successfully and it's good and smooth and maybe rebuilds the fandom a little bit, and then they can relaunch this TV show, and if that does decently well, and then they can announce that they're working on a new game that's going back to the original, going back to the Milky Way, focusing on new stuff, doing new things there with that story. Maybe it's a little revamp, maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see. Looks like it's gonna be. So yeah, if they can somehow do that, then great, perfect. But for the time being, it's I don't know. I don't know if they can.
All right. What has happened over the last few years that all of these fantastic IPs have just gone down the drain? The Mass Effect, the Star Wars, all of these. It's because it seems like it's not just in games, it's in cinema as well. Like, what's going on? Is it just bloated corporations making these? Is everyone just interested in turning these into cash grabs? Does nobody care anymore about making a good product and catering to what the fans actually like?
It's garbage CEOs and general managers who fail upward and fail upward and fail upward and fail upward, and then take our beloved things and go, you know what this needs? This needs cigars and women, women and just giant cigars. So this is a kids menu. Yeah. So bring out the cigars. They're never too old enough to get started on cigars. Get them into this here. It's like, it makes that equivalent amount of sense. That thing that I just said makes very little cognitive reality sense. But so does stupid decisions that they've done repeatedly at places like Activision, EA, and a bunch of other
Disney.
Studios. Disney, it's just like, hey, I'm Kathleen Kennedy. I'm gonna throw out 30 years of growth and storytelling via books and novels and comics and toys and just everything. I'm going to take all of that, I'm going to throw it down the tubes, and I'm going to set it on fire, and then I'm going to go on live television. I'm going to say that, you know what the problem with Star Wars is versus Marvel Universe is that we don't have any novels and comics and old toys to draw on. I mean, there was such a wealth of stuff around Iron Man when Iron Man first came out. You remember how you grew up, loving Iron Man on the same level that you loved Superman, and every single nerd's looking at each other like, yeah, that never happened. Like, I mean, it was just a really good story that was really well written. Your story was garbage. Was written by somebody who doesn't even understand the lore and who has no concept of what they're actually doing. So yeah, no, shut up. What you're saying happened never happened. Pathetic, absolute garbage. And it is, and still is, garbage to this day. And it's just these people that fail upward that again, they think they know what they're doing when they don't. And they're just, when you look at what they're doing and you really examine what they're saying, they're just a bunch of hypocrites. They are just a bunch of nonstop hypocritical BS artists who are just ruining everything. And they don't give a rip about what you want as a consumer, about what you care about. They just don't care. They've never cared. They have never been interested in this. It is flat out something that is absolutely arrogantly stupid. And it's just makes me sick.
There's a comment from Funky Moyne in the chat. Creativity is being castrated by money. Definitely sounds like the case.
Yeah, because they want to control the creativity so that the creativity is on a particular thing that matches the most recent what's those tests they get a bunch of people in the room and they do these the focus tests. So they get these focus tests in and they sit everybody down and they're like, what is family friendly and super approved on? And they're standing there over these people's shoulders. In a lot of cases, they're standing over their shoulders going, oh, I really hate so-and-so and such going on in general, culture and media right now. I really hope that these people are dragged out into the street and shot and maybe run over by a Buick, just really add insult to injury. I really hope that. You're not interested in any of those things, are you? Staring down at people who are answering the test and they're like, no, of course not. I'm going to make sure that I vote. Your idea is awesome here, and I'm not going to give you any critical feedback, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you want to hear which is not what I would actually ever say if I wasn't being threatened right now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is how you get this insane, innate, stupid stuff that's just, you're looking at people like, have you lost your damn mind?
Right.
And it's just like,
It's
so
like,
sad.
like for creativity to actually work, you can't suffocate it. It's kind of like I was recently watching Dirk Gently, and they like tried to capture him and tried to make him use his powers to do things, and he kept telling them, he's like, it's not how it works. I need to go out there and do the thing, not being stuck in here trying to do whatever you guys assume or think it is that I do. It's like, just it's insanity, literally.
It's it's a really interesting concept. I like the show, and that's very true. It's like there's lots of phenomena that you can't just
You can't just force it to happen or to do what you think it should.
like it flies in the face of scientific theory. It's like, sorry, you can't replicate this and get the same result every single time. Like, you can't do that. And I think that is how art exists. Art is not something like culturally influencing art. It's not something that you can regularly make happen at the snap of a finger. Like, well, this same thing worked before, the same thing will work again. You can do that in some levels, in some degree, and it's scary on how much like cultural control is being used right now to do that kind of stuff. But realistically, I mean, we see it with all this stuff. I mean, you just grab a newspaper, you look at the last like headlines over the last year, and you see that there's nobody who's ever able to control anything all the time. Like, you can, it's like that, what's that term? Like, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And it's kind of like that, but with art. It's like you can entertain and you can direct things some of the time, but you can't do it all of the time. And eventually, sooner or later, the public, and this is why I think we've seen the rise of games recently that have really taken off, are games that people didn't see coming. And I think it really boils down to the community just doesn't want the latest thing pumped out by some giant mega corporation. They want to play stuff that they know and they can feel that the creators had actual freedom to do what they wanted and to create the thing that they wanted to create. And then the hypocrites out there who make games that, you know, they sometimes they have that very success. There's one story in particular that's very, very fascinating to me. It's like the one story in particular is like, it's like these people made a hit game, and then they advocate for rules that would refuse the ability for anybody to make those hit games in the future. It's like, are you people crazy, or are you just stupid?
Well, look at all of the people who made a living doing controversial humor, who are now advocating for severe censorship of humor from anyone other than them.
It is the funniest thing that the guy who made Borat wants media restricted and controlled and run by mega corporations. I'm like, are you serious? Is this a bit? Are you doing a bit? Is your next movie based on where you're like, you know, a CEO of some giant corporation that's literally trying to take over the world, and you get brought down by some like James Bond type character? Like, is this your next movie or show? Because you're really laying it on thick. If you wanted to be like crazy, controlling, hypocritical, crazy person, I sometimes wonder if that's like, I really gotta wonder, what's going on? How do you do this? It's so hypocritical. It's so insane. It literally makes me nauseous.
Thankfully, I think that the general public won't stand for too long. I mean, there's always rebel movements behind the scenes that, they like what they like, and nobody's going to stop them.
the best thing we could do is at least keep talking about it, keep the conversation going. Because at least that way we can try to figure out how to deal with what's happening together.
And with that, I think we'll wrap up the show for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for all of the excellent conversation in the live chat and those who are listening live on YouTube and Twitch. We really appreciate you being here. Give us some subs and follows and likes if you appreciated this content. That like button's feeling a little lonely. Don't forget to slam it before you go. I would really appreciate that, and so would YouTube, knowing that we, that you appreciate this content tells YouTube it should share it with more people, and especially as we're trying to build this new podcast channel, if you would share this podcast around, we would really appreciate that. And don't forget to check out the main channel if you are new to our podcast. Our main channel has edited content. There you can find all kinds of excellent gaming content, including game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more. Thank you so much to our big damn heroes on Patreon and our channel members on YouTube, whose names were appearing in gold at the top of the screen throughout the show today. We really appreciate all of you, especially again now as we're building this podcast channel and cannot monetize it yet. We are moving the live streams off of the main channel for the sake of trying to help our reach with the algorithm, trying to figure out the YouTube algorithm. Absolutely. All right, and it's sorry, I don't know if I should say this. Figuring out the YouTube algorithm is no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'll tell you. I'll say it all. I'll tell y'all later on Discord. If you want to know the joke. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out the YouTube channel. I've already said that. So I'll just bid you farewell for now. Thank you. My name is Ash on behalf of Saib and Moontag. Thank you all very much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.